Hey guys, so I just wanted to make this quick video for jobeanvideos because he posted a video around sometime yesterday, I think around 6 o'clock yesterday. He posted a video to his YouTube channel and it was the Popping Goblin, trying to fix Popping Goblin, and he said that the repair did not work. It was basically a failed repair. And doesn't really know what else to do with it, because he tried taking this motor that brings him like in and out, and he tried putting it there to make the goblin like rise up and down. But it didn't work. So I went on to his channel yesterday and I said, hey, this is what's wrong with it. It's a really easy repair. Let me show you what's wrong with it. And basically, I want to make this video, try to help him out, and also help you guys out. If any of you guys are having any similar issues with other animatronics, this trick will work with those same animatronics. So here's the Popping Goblin, I guess this cover taken off from the board. And the sound sensor does not go like that. It actually goes right there, but I mounted it on the outside because it works better, I think, than it on the inside. But anyways, so here's the board. I take the cover off. So Jordan, I'm speaking to everybody and Jordan. What's wrong with your goblin is that part right there. I'll zoom in so you can look. This part right there, not this capacitor right there, or this one, but this black transistor that is sandwiched between this capacitor and that capacitor right there. This is the problem. This is why the goblin will not go down when you unplug him in, or when he's turned on. This transistor is burnt out, okay? So what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to try to find this transistor. Now, you're probably wondering, what transistor is this? Well, this type of transistor is if I can remember correctly, it's an NPN transistor, which you don't need to worry about that. Basically, this is a B772 transistor. If you can see it right there. It says right here, B772. That is the transistor that's bad, and you're going to have to replace that transistor. Let me go ahead and show you guys what it looks like underneath. So let me go ahead and flip this board over so you can see. So we're looking at this component right there, the transistor between the two capacitors. I'm going to flip this over, and I don't know if you can see that, but right there, where just underneath the yellow wire, the 3 pins right there that I'm pointing at right now with my finger right there, that is where the transistor connects. So yeah, that is where the transistor is right there. That is the transistor that is responsible for making the goblin go down when he pops up. And that's the part that is bad. So how you're going to want to replace this is, you're going to want to go underneath the board, and I'll post a picture up here of where these pins are. And what I mean by pins is the individual transistor pins. You know what I'm talking about. It's basically the things that connect the transistor to the board or whatever. It's basically the soldering points. That's what I call them. How you're going to want to remove this transistor is, you're going to want to take your soldering iron, and you're going to want to go underneath the board, and you're going to want to heat each of these 3 pins. The pins that are connected to this transistor that are soldered to the underside of the board, you're going to want to heat those up. Like heat one up, then heat the other one up, then heat the other one up, and slowly pry this transistor off with your fingers. Now, don't be too rough with it, because you can have wires pull off. But just get like a tight grip like this, and kind of pull up, kind of like that, with your fingers. Not with your hand, but with your fingers, and then just keep kind of hitting the same points with the soldering iron until this basically pops out. Once that is done, then you can take the new transistor, which this is a D882 transistor. I don't know, I've said B772, which is incorrect. It's a D882 transistor. Now you can either buy these transistors online, or some techie props have these equipped. If you have a broken prop, or a prop that you're just going to part out, check and make sure and see if it has this transistor, because if it does, all you need to do is unsolder that one and put this one on. And it's the same thing as unsoldering this one. So just heat each of the 3 points of this transistor up, pry up with your fingers like this, and eventually this should just pop right out. Once that's done, take your new transistor and make sure the orientation's correct. Now this transistor, the D882 transistor, has a metal side like that. Make sure that metal side is pointing towards this switch right here. And the other side is pointing towards the inside of the pumpkin. And just plop it on there. And you might also need to make sure the points are as round as possible, because if they're not round, it won't go in, it'll just sit there. So make sure those are very round. Okay, so that's pretty much what you do. Just, do what I said. And then when you're putting the transistor back on, you want to make sure the points for the points kind of like these are kind of want to make sure that these points right here, you can't really see them very well. Okay, you kind of want to make sure, there we go. Okay, you kind of want to make sure that those points right there are smooth. See how there's kind of blobs of solder on the points and they're not really all that smooth? Well, what you want to do is just take a pair of pliers and just kind of crinkle and well, don't crinkle, but squish the points down so you can get them as flat and as round as possible. That way it goes in the hole easier, because if there's a bunch of solder, it's not really going to go in the hole. It's going to be stuck, and then you're going to be like, what's going on? It's not going in. So, and another thing too is that if your soldering iron, or not your soldering iron, but if you can't get the pin back in and there's solder that's in the way of the holes where you pulled the transistor out of, just hit that area again with the heat while holding while pushing the transistor back on, and it should go right through the holes, and then you can just add a little solder. Now that's another thing too. When you're adding solder and you're going to resolder that transistor back up on the board, don't put a whole bunch of solder, because if you have points connecting kind of like these two right here, see how they're connecting? If you have that with that transistor, you want to make sure all the points that are going to get soldered on there are soldered separately. So if they're soldered kind of like that where they're connecting, it will short the transistor out again and it'll basically be a failed thing. So just, you don't want to have that happen right there. Okay, and another thing too is make sure you get a solder that does not have flux, or that has flux added to it. Because if this does not have flux added to it, and it's a lot harder to solder with it, so just make sure you get a solder that is flux with it, and very thin too. This is way too thick right here. This is that kind of diameter. This is way too thick. Get a really super thin, fine solder. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video is going to help anybody who watches this, and Jordan especially. Hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, get totally on YouTube, and I'll go ahead and respond to them as quick as humanly possible. And this goes the same for any of you guys. If this video helped, and if you have any questions for this kind of stuff, go ahead and leave your question in the comment section below, and again, I will respond to it as quickly as possible. And yeah, so hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, be sure to smack that bell notification, and as always, be scary, be spooky, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.